Welcome back to the social on TalkSport2 with myself, Ade Oladipo. Now, look, that was the one big game, aside from Liverpool-Leeds. I was so interested to see this Tottenham-Everton game, mainly to see how this new Everton lineup would look. Everton, I'm used to watching them as a 4-4-2. It looked like they played a 4-3-3 on the weekend. And I have to admit, look, hands up, I got it wrong. James Rodriguez looks like he still has legs. Allen adapted a lot quicker than I expected. Doucouré, I knew was going to come in and do a good job because I think he is a fantastic midfielder. And I think we are stealing money when we can only buy Doucouré for 20 million. I think that's a fantastic signing, and it might be the best signing so far of the summer transfer window. One guy I know is going to be very, very excited to talk to me is Thomas Robertson from the Toffee Blues Everton fan channel and podcast. Thomas, are we getting too excited? It's only the first game of the season. It was Tottenham. They are disjointed. Or should Everton fans be getting excited right now?
I think there's every reason to be excited. To be fair, all three signings getting straight into the team and doing brilliantly. As you mentioned, I'm not sure anyone really expected them to bed in as quickly as they had. Okay, yeah, Doucouré had Premier League experience, so we knew he could hit the ground running. But Allen and James Rodriguez did ridiculously well, and it's exciting to just have a midfield, really. There was too much of last season where we were overrun in centre midfield, such as Wolves away, really. So there's plenty to be excited about. We're finally bringing in, we finally brought in a world-class manager in Carlo Ancelotti, and he's attracting these big names such as James Rodriguez, which, okay, we've had the money for a couple of years, but there's no chance names like him were going to come to the club without three-time Champions League winner Ancelotti.
Agreed. I 100% agree with that. What was your expectations before these big free signings came in? Where was you thinking Everton were going to go? Top 10 again? Maybe higher? Or was you just happy with top 10 at the moment if you didn't get those players?
If we didn't get those players, I wouldn't have expected much of an improvement from last year, to be honest, because in that central midfield role, it was so essential because Ancelotti, of course, started with a 4-4-2, and the two central midfielders need to be engines, and what we had wasn't. I mean, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Gomez, Davies, okay, they have certain qualities, but
pretty footballers, aren't they, on the ball? Yeah,
they lack the qualities that you need to play in those two central midfield roles, and full credit to the club. I mean, bringing in the recruitment's exactly what we needed, but prior to that, everyone was quite pessimistic. Of course, we finished 12th last year, which was massively underachieving, very disappointing finish, really, considering where we have done for I say a couple of years. I mean, a few years ago now, where we finished 7th under Ronald Koeman, and we looked like, we were kind of the best of the rest. But after that, it's been a decline. But there's definitely time to look up now. And yes, it was disappointing finishing last season, but it was a bit of a throwaway in the end. Ancelotti got to learn what the squad was like. Before his signings, it looked a bit grim, but now, I mean, it looks very exciting, much more optimistic than I was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when the players weren't even, signing yet.
Agreed. I almost felt like with Everton, the signings last season were just for the sake of making signings. I didn't really see what they were going to do, if I'm honest with you. Now, though, with these three, Allen, Doucouré and James Rodriguez, it looks like you signed players for a specific duty. Like Allen and Doucouré are going to be your machines in the midfield, and James Rodriguez, I mean, just adds extra quality. Who impressed you most out of those three on the weekend?
I mean, that's tricky to say because, I mean, James Rodriguez just added so much quality, which, I mean, you can immediately tell, okay, he might not be the quickest, as some people are talking about his physicality adapting to the league, but, I mean, when you've got a player of that quality, it doesn't really matter. It's nice to have a player who's very composed on the ball and actually, looks forward. There's not enough midfielders at the moment who are actually looking forward. There's too much lateral passing in our team last year, which was very disappointing to see. But I was probably most impressed with Allen, to be honest, because he just kind of came in that underappreciated role. Yeah. Something we lacked last year was shielding the two centre-backs, to be fair, because we are light there at the moment. Mason Holgate is injured. The only two senior centre-backs we've got are Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. And he shielded them absolutely brilliantly to the extent they didn't have to do loads. When they did have the ball, I thought they looked a lot more composed than usual because they did have that screen in front of them. So I probably have to say Allen was the most impressive purely because of the immediate impact that he had. But James Rodriguez, you can tell he's going to be an excellent addition and he's going to drive us forwards. I mean, his pass and play in behind is nothing like we've had for quite a few years now. I mean, Richarlison must have been absolutely delighted when we saw James Rodriguez sign because it was the same ball.
He almost like he knew that he could just go and he knew James was going to find him. And normally last season I'm watching Richarlison, it's like he stop, start, doesn't know if he wants to make those runs. I think with James there, it's like, I know I can run now.
Yeah, because I guess when you're an attacker, you maybe just lose faith in your own ability and you've got to have the confidence to just make the runs in behind and know you've been found. But last season there was too many times where we'd have CalvertLewin and Richarlison making those runs, but they kind of started to realise that no one was going to give it to them. So then they stopped making the runs in turn. So then you look at them, their output running forwards was poor towards the end of last season. I mean, CalvertLewin finished the season quite poorly, but I mean, you can already tell after yesterday, started absolutely excellently. And now they're making those runs again that are going to be so essential to us going forwards. And they clearly just know that James Rodriguez is going to find them no matter where they go on the pitch.
What would you put Dominic Calvert-Lewin's incredible form down to? I almost feel like he's almost forgotten when it comes to this England discussion, but he surely has to be a shout if he continues this form for the Euros.
I think he's just a very hard worker at the end of the day. When he first came into the side, he was very isolated under Marco Silva, really. I mean, going further back than that, under Ronald Koeman, he was forced out right. He even played him right wing back one game, and he definitely had to work his way in. You clearly, you have some young players who come in straight into the team and make that instant impact kind of wow everyone. But when you're a striker, I think it's a lot more difficult because at the end of the day, a striker's job is to score goals, and that's not always easy for a young player. But he works incredibly hard, and when he played in that kind of isolated striker role in the 4-2-3-1, he basically just had to do all the work himself up front. Then Duncan Ferguson comes in, Ancelotti comes in, they put Richarlison next to him, and you really start to see him kind of come out of his shell more because his job isn't just to run the channels anymore. He can finish his chances. I mean, and his heading ability, I think, is very impressive. He's clearly got Big Dunk to learn from, which isn't bad, and he clearly likes a header, as you mentioned yesterday. So I think it all started from his work rate, and then now he's got the better players around him. He's been able to kind of develop more as a player and become a better striker than he was when he first joined.
I'm so happy you mentioned Big Duncan Ferguson there. There was the fear that when Carlo Ancelotti came in that maybe, it might be, maybe ask him to kind of maybe move down to another role or even out of the club. How important has it been to keep Duncan Ferguson at the club?
I think it's very important because we saw in the couple of games that he was in charge, he just gets the club completely, and that has a lot of value, I think, in clubs these days. I mean, especially for us, we've had a very high turnover of managers and players in the past couple of years. So it's important to have that continuity, and I mean, he has it in abundance. We saw when he was the caretaker manager that he cares about the club massively. It meant a lot to him. He was full of passion, running up and down the touchline, and that's absolutely what you want to see. And I'm not surprised, to be honest, that he's been kept around for as long as he has. I mean, to be honest, early days I doubted him, but he's grown into this role where, I mean, if a 3-time Champions League winner kind of values your input in the on the training ground, it's quite a compliment at the end of the day. And he gets what it means to, coach for the club, and he retains that identity that it's so essential, going forwards. You can bring in any kind of coach and staff, any sort of players that you like, but you need that kind of continuity. You need that consistency in the backroom staff that's going to let players, like Calvert-Lewin settle in. Because, of course, Calvert-Lewin, he's seen a couple of managers, but the same consistent theme has been Duncan Ferguson, and he clearly learned a lot from him.
Okay, final question, Thomas, and thank you so much for coming on here to TalkSport and talking to us. What's the expectation this season? I mean, look, it's only been the first game, right? But it's been 25 years since the trophy. Is that what's needed, or are we going too far? Are you looking at top 6, top 4? What's the expectations?
I think European football has to be the aim, but I think that has to be the aim every year, to be honest. But this year especially, I think we've got a brilliant manager, as I mentioned, brilliant squad now as well. Much more kind of confident in it than I was last season. Okay, a cup run would be nice, but there's never any guarantee. With cup runs, you can always say, we want to win it this year, but it's a luck of the draw. Of course, we've actually got a very lucky draw early on in the Carabao Cup. We're coming up against Salford. I hope I'm not.
Oh, easy. You might have jinxed that one there. Gary Neville, why are you listening?
But it's an ideal draw for a club like us, and maybe teams like Manchester United, Spurs, Chelsea, they have a lot busier schedules than us. They might just put the Carabao Cup basically on the back burner because no matter how deep your squad is, 4 competitions with a month less on the season, it's going to be a big strain, whereas we've only got the league and the 2 cup competitions. Like, yes, it's not great to have European football, but there's no reason why we can't give the cups a good go. But I think the base expectation really has to be European football this season.
There you go. Thomas Robertson from the Toffee Blues Everton fan channel and podcast.